Well, with more on the government's gun buyback program and efforts to fight crime, we're now joined by Ruby Sahota, Canada's Secretary of State for Combating Crime. Ruby, good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you, Michael. Thanks for having me on.
So a couple of things to talk about. And I do want to begin with this gun buyback program because, I was just speaking with the conservative shadow critic for public safety. And, I appreciate the pilot has gone ahead. But when you listen to Frank Caputo, he says essentially that recording of the public safety minister, is an admission that this program will not work. What do you say to that?
Well, what I want to actually remind you and Canadians really is that the guns that are being bought back have already been banned. Those guns are now prohibited guns in Canada through a series of 3 different lists that came out over the last 5 years. And so I think it's only fair, especially, to the responsible gun owners, which most are, that are holding these guns, that have stored them for all these years because they know they're prohibited weapons now. And it's time to compensate them. It's time to be able to give them, fair compensation for the firearms they've been holding, and it's a way to get these assault-style firearms out of our communities, Michael. So I think it's an important step because it's a step we have to take. We have a whole bunch of guns that are now prohibited, and so there is a measure that needs to be taken next in order to resolve this issue in a fulsome way.
And listen, I hear what you're saying about compensation. I hear what you're saying about those that would be amenable to voluntarily giving back these guns again for compensation. But there will be those who do not. And I think that really is the criticism here about how workable is this? How do you enforce this law? And the fact that the public safety minister expressed doubt in the program, I think for conservatives, and certainly the ones we've spoken to, underlines the unworkability of this program. What do you say to that?
Well, I think if, I always hear that, and I know this to be true too, that Canadians have a different gun culture than the U.S. They respect the rules of our licensing and what is and isn't allowed in Canada. And so I go back to the fact that these guns are now prohibited firearms, and there needs to be a measure to take in order to help all of these people. And for those that wish to hold on to it, there'd be different measures that would be taken because these are prohibited illegal weapons at this point, right? So yes, they were bought legally, and that's why there is this amnesty period. That is why there's a compensation plan. There's also an option to be able to permanently disable these firearms as well. So some may choose to take that option down the road. But all in all, they have to be removed from our communities.
Still, the statements made by the public safety minister in that video seem to imply, the program was about securing Quebec votes. Are you concerned that is the public perception right now about this program? And I understand the value that you're arguing here, but given the recording, is there now a different perception about this program, do you fear?
Well, I mean, there may be many perceptions out there. The public safety minister has also given his side of the story, and that he believes in the program, perhaps. But however, maybe he has a difference of opinions as to how all the measures unfolded along the last several years. But many of us may have that, but we are still at that crucial juncture right now where something needs to be done. And there is, I do know that Canadians all in all do understand that Canada is a country where we have restrictions on the types of weapons that can be used. However, just like Grandpa Joe has been referenced in question period before, gun owners, hunters, sports shooters, they all have many, many options that they already have, but there are about 19,000 guns, makes and models of shotguns and rifles that are available to Canadians. And I think most Canadians would agree that that is ample choice to be able to still practice the important the important practice of hunting, or for those that are do it as a hobby and they like to go out for sport. And so those options are still here. Legal gun owners are not being targeted. You still are allowed to get a license. You're still allowed to hunt in this country. But what we have decided is that assault style firearms, there is no valid or enough of a positive point or benefit that they serve in Canada that we would continue to keep them here and continue to allow them to be legal. So that choice has been made. That bridge has been, whatever expression you want to use at this point, like we've crossed that point. And so at this point, we need to put in a mechanism by which we could responsibly and fairly collect these guns and be able to dispose of them and use them for other purposes.
Okay. Listen, before we're done, I also want to talk about the declaration of the Bishnoi Group as a terrorist entity. It's something that, many people have been calling for, including the BC Premier. With this designation, what does your government hope to achieve?
Well, a designation such as this gives law enforcement many, many tools, and it's extremely important. What we've seen, whether it's criminal organizations in general, but especially with the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, we've seen them target economic we've seen them target people that have done economically well in an effort to extort them, to get them to stop investing in our communities. There's been murders. There's been a whole array of activity that has just spread throughout from coast to coast. There are many communities that have been affected. My community in Brampton has been severely affected. And Michael, I think the average Canadian maybe does not know that there are several people that are living with security details, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for these types of private security services just because they are successful and they operate a successful business in our community. It's stopped investment. There's been many occasions where negligently firearms have been used to intimidate and threaten many of these business owners, whether it's at their home or at their business. And it's gone too far. It's gone far too far. And the propensity at which this organization was operating in Canada, being a criminal organization from India, it had surpassed a level. Obviously, our intelligence agencies and the RCMP is involved in providing the proper advice to the Public Safety Minister and to Cabinet in order to see if this criminal organization meets the threshold and the requirements of the code. And they have found that it does. And so I think this is a great step forward. And I think it will help resolve a lot of the extremely, extremely violent incidents of extortion that we're seeing in our communities.
Ruby Sahota, thank you for this. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.